I'm sitting right there.
If everybody could please make their way to their seats as quickly as possible. Thanks, everybody. Special Town Meeting 2025-2 will please come to order. I see that Alan Safarian has a point of order. Mr. Safarian.
Sorry, Madam Moderator, I thought that was necessary to click something to log yourself in as attending.
I'm sorry, one more time, Alan?
I thought it was necessary to click one of the options to log yourself in as attending. That was my memory from last year, but if I was incorrect, then please ignore my point of order.
Okay, it appears there's an asterisk by your name, so you're remote, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you've been able to open Zoom, obviously?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Terrific, thank you. That is very good news. All right, so welcome everybody. This is a hybrid meeting utilizing virtual meeting technology, including Zoom for our remote participants, and a web-based portal for voting and queuing to speak for all of our participants, whether they're remote or here in person. The entire meeting is being broadcast live on Astound. That's what RCN is called now, Channel 15, Astound Digital 1125, Verizon Channel 37, Comcast Channel 22, and in high def on Astound Channel 629, and online at LexMedia.org's website on their government live stream. Members of the public may follow the proceedings on cable TV or on LexMedia.org, or by viewing the proceedings from Vatton Hall right up here in the public balcony. We're glad that you're all here. Those members of the public who wish to provide statements for or against a motion on the floor should identify themselves to the staff member who's up in this balcony. That's Taylor Galusha, our communications director. And she will place you in the queue and facilitate the process of seeking to be recognized by the moderator. You'll be called on as time and parliamentary rules permit. Members of the public also have had the opportunity to submit written statements on the town's website on the page dedicated to this special town meeting, and they may continue to do so during this meeting. Those statements will be entered into the queue and read as time and parliamentary rules allow. Some technical instructions. For the members participating in person tonight, you should all have your tablet. It's already logged in with your individual credentials, so you should be ready to vote and queue and raise objections or points of order. If at any time your screen goes blank, simply swipe up on the tablet and you should return to the portal. You can also press the button on top to wake up the device. Please remember that these devices must stay in the hall at all times and should be returned to staff when you leave. For those participating remotely, you're using your own tablet, computer, or smartphone, and you use the instructions and username and the password that was provided to you previously. If you were participating in the annual town meeting, all that should be going smoothly for you. And from the portal, you've launched Zoom in order to view the proceedings. Note that you who are participating remotely have full control in Zoom over whether you appear on the video and when you are unmuted. My suggestion is that you do not enable your video or audio until you're recognized by me, and then turn off both the video and the audio after you finish speaking. Of course, you have also the option of just turning on your audio and not using the video if you don't want to appear on video. If at any time you are having difficulty participating in person, please stand in place and raise your hand so that a staff person can assist you, and those who are remote should call the helpline, 781-876-0093. So before I review some parliamentary procedure, let's take attendance using our electronic voting system. I'm going to pause so that Abe can get that ready for us. Terrific. So you're simply marking your attendance. So it doesn't matter whether you press yes, no, or abstain, but once you press one of those buttons, please press the cast your vote button, and then make sure that up here where you see your name, that you get some feedback that shows how you voted. If you don't get that, then press a button again and press cast your vote. And once you see that feedback up there that's correct, that means that you've communicated with the mothership and all is well. So we're going to keep that attendance screen open while I go over some parliamentary procedure. By the way, folks who are remote, if for some reason you're having trouble voting electronically, unmute yourself in Zoom, get our attention, and we can take your vote by voice. Same thing in the hall. If you're totally having technical difficulties, we can take a voice vote in the hall as well. So each town meeting member speaking at a yes or a no line, or anyone speaking from the public speaking line, may speak for up to 3 minutes. And the time limit for questions, which we only allow from the members, that time limit is 2 minutes. Answers to questions will not count towards the members' 2 minutes. We pause the clock and then start it up again after the answer's been given. No person may speak more than once on a motion until all others who wish to speak for the first time have been heard, and in any case, no more than 2 times on one motion. You may only interrupt debate for a point of personal privilege or a point of order, or to serve notice of reconsideration. Please use the point of order line on the portal to do so. So a perfect example, if there's a lot of ambient noise, maybe people are speaking out in the lobby, please use the point of personal privilege to let me know so that we can send someone out there to quiet things down. The previous question. If you begin to feel that you've heard sufficient debate on a motion, especially if you feel that people are starting to repeat the same points, you can call the question. And this means you're asking your fellow town meeting members to indicate by a vote whether they too have heard enough debate. You make this motion from the virtual yes, no, or question line, so just choose the shortest line. And this motion is not debatable, so don't make any preliminary remarks other than giving your name and precinct number, or your motion will be out of order. Now, do you all recall the change to this process that you voted at the annual town meeting? I had forgotten, but I was reminded tonight. So the first time that we take a vote to close the question on a particular article, it requires a 2/3 quantum of vote to close debate. If a 2/3 quantum is not achieved, then we continue debate and we start a clock. And that clock runs for 30 minutes. And during those 30 minutes, if someone decides to call the question again, it will still take a 2/3 vote. It doesn't start a new clock. But if you don't get a 2/3 vote, once the 30 minutes from that first unsuccessful 2/3 vote occurs, then any calling the question after that is a simple majority. I will review this when the time comes. Okay, let's see. Has everyone had an opportunity to let us know that they're here? And we very clearly have a quorum, so we are going to close the voting screen for taking attendance. I'm now going to ask Ms. Hay for a motion to approve the use of remote and hybrid technology for this special town meeting 2025-2. Ms. Hay.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I so move.
If there are any objections, please use the, let's have you use the point of order. Let's see, is that the one that's, you can raise an objection now. Okay, use the raise objection button if you have any objection, and seeing none, that motion carries. Ms. Roy, what is your point of order? Ms. Roy, it looks like you are remote. Do you have a point of order? I don't have a point of order. Okay, and you're here. Okay, wonderful. The meeting's now open on Article 1, reports of town boards, officers, and committees. For a motion to receive and place on file the report of the Appropriation Committee, Mr. Parker.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
And I'll just treat this as a technical vote, so if anybody has an objection, please use the raise objection button. Seeing none, the motion carries. And now for a motion to receive and place on file the report of the Capital Expenditures Committee. Mr. Lamb.
I so move.
Is there any objection to receiving that report? Seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you. This article stays open throughout the meeting so that we can receive other reports at the appropriate time. You know what else the moderator forgot? I'm going to ask the town clerk to read the warrant. Oops.
November 3rd, 2025, special town meeting warrant number 2.
If there's no objection, we will dispense with further reading of the warrant and for the constable's return.
Constable's return of service, October 20th, 2025. I have served the foregoing warrant for the November 3rd, 2025 special town meeting number 2 by posting a printed copy thereof in the town office building, also by sending by mail, postage prepaid, a printed copy of such warrant addressed to each dwelling house and to each dwelling unit in multiple dwelling houses, apartment building, or other buildings in the town, 14 days at least before the time of said special town meeting number 2. Attest, Michael R. Berry, Constable of Lexington.
Thank you very much. The meeting is now open on the consent agenda, which tonight includes motions for Article 2, which is appropriate for prior year's unpaid bills. That motion is to indefinitely postpone. Article 5, appropriate for authorized capital improvements. That's also to be indefinitely postponed. Article 10, amend reference of newspapers to include electronic media. That is a revised motion that was posted yesterday. Article 11, clarification of LexHab reorganization. So, what's a consent agenda? We'll take these up as one bundle. We'll take one vote without presentations or debate, although town meeting members will be allowed to pose questions. This is a time-saving way of dealing with items that have the unanimous support of the Select Board, the Appropriation Committee if it's a financial article, and where relevant, the Capital Expenditures Committee, Planning Board, Community Preservation Committee. And these items are ones often that come up annually or of a housekeeping nature, or have a motion to indefinitely postpone or to refer to a board or committee. If 25 or more members request that an item be pulled off the consent agenda for separate consideration and debate, the moderator will honor that request. So, if we could have these motions before you.
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Bernstein.
my tablet was not functioning, but I would like to ask a question.
We haven't gotten quite there yet.
Okay, thank you.
But that's okay. Hang on there. So the motions are before you. They're dated November 2nd, 2025, and on file with the town clerk. Ms. Hay for that combined motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. I'm now entertaining questions. Mr. Barnstein.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just have one question on Article 10.
If you could move a little closer to your microphone. Thank you.
I have one question on Article 10, and I only ask this question because there hasn't been a lot of information provided about that. My question through you, if I may, to Town Council, is with respect to Article 10, could you just explain what Chapter 352 of the Acts of 2024 is and how it came about and what it means here?
Thank you. Mr. Macarius.
Madam Moderator, Mina Macarius, Anderson and Krieger, Town Council. The special act that Mr. Bartenstein refers to is one that this body's town meeting requested to allow the town in places where state law requires publication of notices by paper in a newspaper, which is the old-timey way that has been in a lot of newspaper, has been around for decades, to accomplish that through digital publication. The special act was since approved by the legislature, and the Select Board has taken the necessary steps following that to put it into place. The school committee, I understand, will be considering it as well for their actions under their authority. What this act does, it falls in the nature of the housekeeping articles that you mentioned. It refers to the special act in Chapter 1, Section 2 of the Town Code, which had referred to newspaper publication for certain hearings. It will now refer to the digital publication as well. So it's really implementing what town meeting had voted before.
Thank you. Are there any questions about any of the 4 motions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. This will be an electronic vote, so we'll wait for staff to prepare that for us. We're taking 1 vote on all 4 motions. This will require a simple majority. All those in favor of the motions offered in the consent agenda, press yes. All opposed, press no. And please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback so that you know that your vote's been recorded. If not, press yes, no. You may also use the abstain button and press cast your vote again. Is there anyone in the hall who needs to vote by voice? Yes, could you go to the microphone, please? Name and precinct for the staff.
That was precinct, vote yes, precinct 4.
Mr. Barnett in precinct 4. Votes yes. Actually, you've been able to vote electronically. Again, just name and precinct number for the staff.
Yeah, Barbara Katzenberg in precinct 2. I vote yes.
Ms. Katzenberg in precinct 2. Votes yes.
Albert Zabin, precinct 1, votes yes.
Mr. Zabin, precinct 1. Votes yes. If there is anyone who is remote who's having trouble voting, would like to vote by voice, please unmute yourself and get our attention.
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
This is Mr. Pato. The colors on the vote buttons aren't changing on the tablets, so that may be what's leading people to think their vote isn't being registered. They should look at the box that comes back, the feedback button box. Correct.
That is the only place you should look. That's the surefire way to tell.
It was working properly on, never mind.
Box with your name, to the left, how you voted. That's the feedback you need. Okay, terrific. So we're going to close that vote. In this matter, 171 having voted in the affirmative, none in the negative, and 2 abstaining, the motion carries. It is unanimous. Ms. Hay, I'd like a motion to next take up Articles 8 and 9. Ms. Hay.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Are there any objections to that motion? Seeing none, the motion carries. So the meeting is now open on Article 8, Appropriate for Lexington High School. We'll soon have a motion in front of us. Terrific. The motion is one before you, dated October 22nd, 2025, and on file with the town clerk. Ms. Lenahan for the motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Thank you, Ms. Lenahan. Before we view the video presentation, I'm going to ask Ms. Lenahan for a motion to receive and place on file the report of the School Building Committee. Ms. Lenahan.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Are there any objections to receiving that report and placing it on file? The motion carries. And now we'll view the video presentation.
Hello, town meeting members. I'm Julie Hackett, Superintendent of Schools, and I am so honored to present an overview of the Lexington High School Building Project, a transformative investment in Lexington's future. The warrant article before you asks town meeting to appropriate funds for demolishing the existing Lexington High School and constructing a modern, sustainable replacement complete with athletic fields, parking areas, and accessory facilities. These funds will be expended under the direction of the Permanent Building Committee. Over the next few minutes, we'll walk through the project's 8-year journey, examine the costs and sustainability features, discuss permitting and environmental considerations, highlight our extensive community engagement, and review the taxpayer impact. We'll conclude with an exciting design update and virtual flyover that brings our schematic design to life. We can't wait for you to see the proposed plans for a new high school that will serve Lexington students for the next 50 years and beyond. Our planning journey began in 2018. The timeline you see represents key milestones, though many more steps occurred behind the scenes. As the old saying goes, many hands make light work, and this project exemplifies that spirit. Town staff from school and municipal departments, numerous boards and committees, dedicated volunteers, and our project partners have worked collaboratively to bring us to this moment. Over the course of 8 years, we've analyzed enrollment trends, developed facilities master plans, drafted statements of interest and educational plans, established working groups, conducted feasibility studies, and refined designs from initial concepts to detailed schematics. This project is so much more than architecture and infrastructure, though. It's a testament to community collaboration and Lexington's unwavering commitment to excellence in public education. Community engagement has been important to all of us. To date, we've held over 200 meetings. We've had school building committee sessions, student school building committee meetings, community forums, subcommittee meetings, focus groups, and financial summits. And these weren't perfunctory gatherings. Each meeting had a purpose with detailed agendas, minutes, and productive discussions. We scrutinized and debated every aspect of this project to deliver the best possible design for Lexington's needs, now and for generations to come. Our sincere thanks to everyone who has invested their time, expertise, and passion to make this project possible. After exploring 19 different design options, several of which were inspired by community members, we arrived at our schematic design. Our design team named it Bloom for its distinctive outward expression, which our architect will describe in detail during the virtual flyover. The School Buildings Committee's decision to select Bloom came after extensive deliberation. It wasn't an easy choice, but after multiple discussions, surveys, and substantial feedback from residents, Bloom emerged as the clear winner, and here's why. It is the most cost-effective and the least expensive of the new build options. It has enhanced accessibility, including Level 1 program adjacencies that will create a more accessible and inclusive building. We were able to improve recreation and athletic resources, and it contributes to the best overall plan for the center rec complex. The diagram on your left is a space adjacency plan. It's the architectural translation of our educational vision. It emerged from the 100-plus page educational plan, which comprehensively details our academic programs, instructional activities, curriculum goals, and the learning spaces required to support 2,395 students or more. Our design team transformed these educational requirements into spatial relationships, thoughtfully arranging and connecting rooms to optimize interdisciplinary learning, collaboration, and movement throughout the building. One question we've been asked is whether the new Bloom design will be large enough to accommodate our high school students, especially in light of the MBTA zoning bylaw changes. We've studied this issue in detail, and plans are in place that will enable us to expand as necessary in 3 ways: by increasing class sizes while still maintaining a low utilization rate, converting central office spaces for student classrooms as needed, and by adding on to the building itself if necessary. However, this will not be needed if current enrollment projections hold, which are suggesting smaller cohorts of elementary students. It's also worth noting that the MSBA, overseen by the state treasurer, certainly would not make a $121 million investment in an undersized new high school. Sustainability these days is so important to our students, and it's absolutely critical to the entire community. A sustainable high school fosters healthier learning environments, it reduces long-term operational costs, and it promotes environmental stewardship through its own example. And Lexington is leading the way. Our 2019 Integrated Building Design Policy sets ambitious standards, and our new high school will exceed them. The building will be LEED Gold certified, net positive for energy, and constructed with healthy, red list free materials. Now let's talk about climate resilience, because the numbers are impressive. Our embodied carbon and operational analysis shows the new high school will be 30% net positive thanks to solar PV and battery storage. Even more remarkable, despite being 509,000 square feet, over 100,000 square feet larger than our current building, the new design will achieve a 42% total reduction in carbon emissions over its 60-year life cycle. This is sustainable growth done right. Let me briefly address site approvals and environmental considerations. Permitting is already underway and progressing well. The project is approximately midway through the MEPA process. We're working through the Article 97 considerations, and the Vine Brook watershed study is now complete and under FEMA review. Our project team has proactively addressed environmental considerations from the outset, ensuring that our budget and schedule account for all associated requirements and approvals. Importantly, improving community resources at the Center Rec complex has been a priority throughout this process, and the Bloom design achieves our goal of meaningfully upgrading these shared community assets. Now let's address the question on everyone's mind: what will this cost? The total project cost is $659.7 million. However, Lexington's share is estimated at $533 million after accounting for the $121 million grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, which, by the way, is $10 million more than we were originally anticipating. We'll get $4.5 million from Mass Save and another $1 million contribution from the Lab Collaborative. These significant funding partnerships reduce the local burden by nearly $127 million. To help every resident understand how this project affects their specific situation, the town finance team developed an interactive Lexington High School project tax impact calculator. It's simple to use. You enter your home's assessed value, you click calculate, and you'll see the estimated annual tax impact of the Prop 2.5 debt exclusion vote. If you're unsure of your home's value, there's a direct link to Lexington's property database where you can search by address. This tool was designed to enhance transparency regarding project costs and their impacts on taxpayers, and it's now available for your use. Now for the exciting part. Let's explore the design itself. This rendering depicts the pedestrian experience, showing residents walking from Muzzy Street to the high school entrance. The design's connectivity will enhance the community's experience on the site. This aerial view shows the full campus scale with the Bloom design in place. The field house remains in its current location. The existing high school currently sits in the area designated on the map for the new athletic fields. See numbers 24, 25, 28, and others on this map. The new building's orientation optimizes both educational function and community access. This interior perspective reveals our dining commons, a beautiful multifunctional space where students will eat, gather, socialize, and learn. Notice the distinctive learning stairway in the background. This oversized staircase serves as flexible seating where students can collaborate, complete homework, or simply connect. The Commons is also designed for community access. It will be available to accommodate the many cultural events and celebrations that are central to Lexington's identity. Our current classroom spaces are very small, and we're looking forward to the expansion of slightly larger classrooms. In addition to that, we have several feature spaces that deserve special recognition. We have a third-level courtyard that offers natural light and an outdoor connection, creating opportunities for unique learning experiences. The large group instruction room faces the main entrance, serving as both a functional and symbolic gateway to the learning experience. We are excited about the 13 innovation labs. They're collaborative spaces and places where students and community members can work, imagine, explore, and create together. The schematic design includes these 13 technology labs in addition to a second makerspace, which is associated with the Library Media Center. Our students will have access to the kinds of real-world, authentic, hands-on learning experiences that we envisioned in our strategic plan and in the educational plans. It's exciting to imagine the opportunities for students and community members to come together to explore these spaces. They can be in learning labs that are designed around audiovisual, carpentry, fabrication, robotics, digital design, engineering, business, graphic communication, digital art, and more. Incorporating these cutting-edge learning technologies into our new high school will strengthen community partnerships, transform traditional educational experiences, and help us redefine success at Lexington High School. The current Lexington High School is over 75 years old and past its useful life. Renovating these systems alone would cost approximately $311 million or more, with no guarantee of continued service for another 50 years. A renovation of the systems alone could lead to continued deterioration, lost educational opportunities, and deferred problems that only grow more expensive with time. In a new high school, Lexington would get a brand new building that is designed to last 50+ years. Over 100,000 additional square feet with room for future expansion. Significantly improved recreational facilities, modern learning environments that support 21st century education, sustainable net positive operations, spaces designed for community use, and more. This is not just a school building. It's an investment in our children, it's an investment in Lexington, and it's an investment in our future. We hope that you will support us in bringing this vision to life. Thank you. You may now scan the QR code to see the Lexington High School virtual flyover.
For the recommendation of the school committee, Mr. Freeman.
Madam Moderator, the school committee voted 4-0 with 1 recusal.
Thank you. For the recommendation of the select board, Mr. Pato.
Madam Moderator, the Select Board recommends approval of this article. Rebuilding LHS is likely to be the most ambitious and expensive project undertaken by the town for generations. We have anticipated this project for decades and have spent years in an inclusive, painstaking, open process to develop the proposal before town meeting tonight. What we have now is the right project at the right time in the right place. We are here because the current facility is overcrowded, has inadequate facilities, and failing infrastructure to the extent that it interferes with classroom instruction and that procuring parts for repair is difficult. The open campus presents safety issues. Students are forced to move through the unprotected open quad between classes, which cannot be secured in the event of an emergency and needlessly allows public access. Current spaces don't meet modern educational needs. The Bloom Project resolves these issues by creating a right-sized, safe, accessible, and flexible learning environment. The project implemented the town's integrated building design policy, and as a result, the design has educational flexibility, appropriate space plus room for growth and expansion, healthy building features, sustainability features that are prudent financial investments with lower operating costs. The need for a new school is clear. The proposed project has cost control and schedule advantages over the many other concepts explored. Nonetheless, the scale of the project is daunting, but it is It is so for good reasons. LHS is one of the largest schools in Massachusetts. While the question before us tonight is whether to approve funding for the project or not, we need to remember that should we vote this down, we will still incur the scale of costs associated with the project in about the same time frame. Our choice is to proceed with a thoughtful design that balances community needs now, or to delay and incur the costs of maintaining or repairing the current inadequate facility, escalating construction costs for addressing overcrowding, and risking the failure to secure state aid in the future. We've planned for financing of the project. Taxpayer burden is mitigated through the use of the Capital Stabilization Fund and in-levy funds. We are employing active target value design and value engineering to control costs. We've budgeted with ample contingency. The requested budget includes over $120 million in contingency funds, including those addressing tariff concerns, reducing the likelihood of cost overruns. We are fully leveraging state funding. If the town does not approve the project as developed with the MSBA, this grant funding will be lost. A different design or project would require us to submit a new statement of interest to reapply for a new invitation into the MSBA program. This may result in years of waiting. In the meantime, it is unlikely that the current LHS can remain operational without needing tens or hundreds of millions of dollars for repairs. The loss of state funding is not idle speculation. It is MSBA policy. Just last week, the MSBA board, where our project scope and budget agreement were approved, 2 districts were removed from the capital pipeline due to failed funding votes. Approving this project is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to efficiently create community value and a long-term asset. Approving this project will create a facility that meets our educational values and simultaneously enhances our recreational assets, which are used by the whole community. By the vote of 4 in favor and 1 opposed, Mr. Lucente, the Select Board recommends approval of this article. Madam Moderator, anticipating member queries, would you recognize Mr. Lucente for his comments?
Certainly. Mr. Lucente.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, for the opportunity to speak. First, I want to thank the School Building Committee, staff, architects, and all the volunteers who have given so much time to this project. This effort has been enormous, and I deeply respect it. Saying no tonight is not easy. I know how much work and hope has gone into this project and plan, and I care about this community and our schools as much as anyone here. But leadership sometimes means standing apart. After years of following this process, I've concluded that while Lexington needs a new high school, this is not the right project. I've worked hard to keep an open mind, but I've heard from too many residents, parents, students, and neighbors who felt unheard and dismissed for raising valid concerns. That should trouble all of us. A community that prides itself on open dialogue shouldn't silence different perspectives. When we discount valid opinions, we weaken the entire process, which is how we arrived at the design, which is impressive on paper, but ultimately out of balance with Lexington's values. At $660 million, this would be one of the most expensive high schools in the country. Even after receiving state support and utilizing stabilization funding, the burden on Lexington taxpayers remains extraordinary. At this cost, we should expect transparency and prudence. Instead, we have a project that bundles some unrelated elements, such as the central office headquarters and oversized energy infrastructure, into what should have been a more straightforward school project. We are sacrificing valuable community asset, which is our athletic fields, to build on one of the most complex sites imaginable. The ground itself has been described as difficult, with peat and organic material. This decision creates a high-risk engineering challenge, introducing unavoidable costs and long-term maintenance risks. Just because something can be engineered doesn't mean that it should be. Along the way, opportunities for creative thinking were closed off too soon. A clear example of this is the campus map. Several of us requested that it include the town-owned land across Worthen Road to evaluate the entire campus, including parking, fields, and traffic. But that request was ignored. By leaving that part of the campus off the map, the process limited discussion before it even began. That's not openness, that's a missed opportunity, and even the map shown tonight still omits that property. While the plan advertises a parking gain, the math tells a different story. 500 spaces in total, with 60 reserved for the new administrative offices, leaving a net loss of 10 spaces for students and staff. For $660 million, that's unacceptable, and it pushes parking deeper into the neighborhoods. Our drive towards sustainability, while well-intentioned, has gone beyond balance. I fully support energy efficiency, but it must serve the educational purpose first and not become an experiment in power generation. As an LHS graduate, I know the value of the current campus style, the independence it fosters, the sense of community that it builds. The proposed single building design loses that. It feels less like a campus and more like a containment area. This represents a significant departure from what has long made LHS unique. This is not an easy vote, but it is an honest one. I'm voting no, not against the new high school, but for what I genuinely believe is right for the town of Lexington. A project that needs and meets our educational goals first and foremost, without losing sight of fiscal responsibility or community balance. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the recommendation of the Capital Expenditures Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Is this on? Good. Okay. Thank you, Madam Moderator. I first want to thank the SBC.
Just a little closer to that microphone.
Will do. Thank you. My own committee, the Appropriation Committee, and Alan Levine for serving as liaison, my peer on the SBC. Capital Expenditures Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article. Shocking, I know. This committee has been a vocal advocate for this project as well as the two previous appropriations for feasibility and design services. Superficially, a yes vote indicates your endorsement of this project, and a no vote signifies a negative endorsement. As you know, this project requires a 2/3 affirmative vote by this body and a majority affirmative vote on the December 8th debt exclusion. This committee loves debt exclusion, and it's not because referendums allow the town to build buildings. It's because debt exclusion votes are the purest form of our democracy. They give the last word to the citizens who we, town meeting, and the select board are elected to represent. The December 8th vote will not only affirm or reject the necessity of this project, it will also confirm that we have not second-guessed our constituents. Given that this is by far the largest project that we have ever undertaken, it's imperative that we get our constituents' wishes correct, and that can only happen by advancing this project to a referendum. Our individual votes on December 8th will be anonymous, but our votes here tonight will be immutably recorded and scrutinized for years to come. They're an important part of our individual Lexington legacies. We're all accountable. With those consequences in mind, let's reconsider the significance of your vote tonight. Your no vote means that you outright do not want to let our constituents have the last word, and that you're dead certain that this project is so egregiously wrong that our constituents should not even have the chance to decide this matter for themselves. A no vote means that we, the town meeting and the select board, will have the last word. If you are against this project for whatever reason, this committee respects your dissent and your debate, but ultimately your opposition should be expressed as a no vote at the ballot box on December 8th, not as a no vote here at this town meeting. Conversely, a yes vote means that you respect our democratic process and wish to let our constituents have their say, even if you're not absolutely positively sure whether the majority of them are for or against this project. The only way to find out what our constituents really think is to approve this article and give them the last word on December 8th. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. And for the recommendation of the Appropriation Committee, Mr. Levine.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. In my present remarks, I combine quotes from our committee report to this special town meeting with a few additional statements. The need for a new high school has been established beyond reasonable doubt. The current building is severely overcrowded in many respects, and the building fails to meet many of our school system's educational program needs. While students may receive a good education at LHS, that education may not be quite as good as it could be when freed of the limitations that occur because of the shortcomings of the current facility. The Appropriation Committee believes the proposed building is properly sized and that increasing its nominal capacity would increase the cost of the building without sufficient justification. The use of about $58 million from the Capital Stabilization Fund and the annual use of $6.5 to $7 million of within levy tax revenue for the duration of the debt service is a substantial commitment. Ultimately, these contributions would yield over $250 million for the project. Together with the contribution of $121 million from the MSBA and $1 million from LAB, there will be nearly $400 million to mitigate the tax increases for the project. This is truly extraordinary. Delaying the LHS project would only exacerbate the poor conditions in the existing building and increase the risk of a drastic building system failure. Rejecting this request would sacrifice MSBA support for the project with no assurance of timely renewed MSBA support in the future. In the meantime, construction costs would likely escalate further due to inflation. There is no responsible course of action for the town that avoids significant LHS-related expenses over the next few decades. The town has invested an extraordinary amount of time and resources to design a high school that meets the needs of a 21st century population. It has integrated this project into its capital planning to provide a smooth transition with a minimal loss of town services during the construction period, and town staff has developed a financing plan to make it feasible. The present plan makes sense and is prudent. Failing to adopt this plan will result in years of delay with no expectation of better financial prospects. The Appropriation Committee unanimously recommends approval of Article 8.
Thank you. For the Permanent Building Committee, John Himmel.
Good evening. John Himmel, Precinct 6, School Building Committee member and co-chair of the Permanent Building Committee. The School Building Committee is the approving body for the project. Both Chuck Favazzo and I are members of the 13-member School Building Committee and co-chairs of the Permanent Building Committee. The PBC takes a very active role in advising the SBC on matters of cost, schedule, design, construction, and procedure. I would like to take this opportunity for us all to remember what town voters and town meeting have decided over the last 2 decades plus. That has had a direct bearing on the project before you. In the 90s, town voted against the idea of an all-new high school, opting to renovate and extend the life of the building another 20 years. We're now 30 years out, and the building is at the end of its life. During the same 30-year period, the school designed for 1,800 students has been overcrowded and inefficient. Prior town meeting approvals have included stopgap emergency LHS funding to band-aid the ailing building, all the while anticipating a major project. Funding for the construction of 25,000 square feet of short-life buildings scattered on the campus to address overcrowding, but again, anticipating a major project. Policies and articles related to LEED, stretch code, building system efficiency, building occupant health, on-site energy production, and the reduction of energy use. zoning articles that have introduced greater density and thus more students, including the MBTA overlay and the OSRD. And on a happier note, funding of the stabilization fund. In recent years, TAN prepared multiple statements of interest seeking MSBA participation in our project. Fortunately, we were successful. The town and SMMA have followed the carefully choreographed MSBA process by developing renovation in place, add reno, and all new options. School Building Committee evaluated these schemes from the standpoint of achieving the education goal, safety during construction and occupancy, cost, schedule, and expandability. The SBC chose Bloom because it best satisfied most of the requirements. Briefly taking a deeper dive into the 5 points, project scope and ed plan. The MSBA approved the ed plan, and that is the main driver of the plan. The design team conducted an exhaustive series of fact-finding sessions with citizens, students, Lexington committees, and staff that have been evaluated and vetted during the design process, incorporated into the scope where appropriate. Safety. The Bloom plan will be considerably safer for students, staff, and public during construction than any renovation in place / addition option could be. Additionally, it will be far less obstructive or destructive. Wrong word. Disruptive. Costs. The consultant team prepared multiple cost studies of comparable Massachusetts high school project costs, adjusted them for escalation and scope, and shared them publicly multiple times. As you will recall, Bloom was solidly in the pack. We're employing target value design with Turner Construction and SMMA on this project, as well as Dore Whittier, with the aim of proactively seeking the most cost-effective design. It is a continuous process as opposed to the prior VE method and should pay dividends. Schedule. The Bloom schedule is considerably shorter than any renovation in place addition scheme could be. Time is money. Expandability that was addressed in the presentation. In conclusion, the PBC is solidly behind the Bloom scheme and the project that has been developed. You've already voted in favor of articles having a direct bearing on this project. It is time to consider all the benefits of this project as designed. Thank you.
Thank you. And for Sustainable Lexington Committee, Cindy Ahrens.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Sustainable Lexington Committee supports approval of Article 8 because of the health, financial, and sustainability benefits of the Lexington High School LHS design. Members of the Sustainable Lexington Committee have been actively involved in the LHS design process, including having a member on the School Building Committee and the Permanent Building Committee, and including participating in many sustainability and mechanical equipment design focus groups and forums, ensuring adherence to the town's integrated building design and construction policy, also known as the IDP. The first priority of the IDP is to maximize the health and well-being of the building occupants, i.e. our students and staff. Then to achieve the highest reasonably attainable and economically viable performance standards for health, energy use, and resilience. Reasonably attainable and economically viable on-site renewable energy for health, energy use, and resilience.
Sorry, hold on a second. Someone has something. Can we mute everybody on Zoom?
Except me, right, Madam Moderator?
I guess we can't.
Can I continue?
You can try. Go ahead.
Thank you. The LHS design achieves those objectives. The hybrid all-electric heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC system provides excellent indoor air quality and thermal comfort without fossil fuel combustion. All-electric cooking systems eliminate indoor air pollutants from methane gas, and food service systems will reduce waste and exposure to harmful plastics. Red bliss-free or toxic-free materials will be used in the portions of the building directly interacting with students and staff, like walls, ceiling, floors, and furniture. Studies show that excellent indoor air quality and the reduction of exposure to toxic materials results in fewer sick days, higher staff productivity and retention, increased cognitive performance, and higher test scores. From the insulation and layout to the lighting and HVAC, the design is highly energy efficient, greatly reducing the energy per square foot needed to operate the building, resulting in significant cost savings each year. According to the design team, the all-electric hybrid heat pump HVAC design costs $10 million less upfront than a conventional system, since it combines heating and cooling in one system rather than two. Mass save incentives of $5 million are expected to further reduce upfront HVAC equipment costs. Currently allowable federal tax credits for geothermal heat pump portion could reduce costs even further. The 4.8 megawatt solar and energy storage system included in the design submission to the MSBA will generate enough electricity each year to power the entire school, including a margin for expected increases in energy use compared to the current projected use. This system, after paying for itself, is projected to lower energy-related net operating expenses by $73 to $83 million over 30 years. All of these IDP components of the high school design are both economically viable and financially responsible. Finally, the solar and energy storage system will reduce CO2 emissions and toxic air pollution by over 90%, including embodied emissions from the construction and manufacturing of the system, compared to purchasing electricity from the utility. This system will also increase the resilience of the local electricity grid and improve efficiencies of electricity delivery. Again, the Sustainable Lexington Committee supports approval of Article 8 because of the health, financial, and sustainability benefits of the LHS design, which will reduce greenhouse gas emissions, reduce both short-term and long-term costs for Lexington residents and taxpayers, all while enhancing the health and cognitive performance of LHS students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Kaufman with a question.
Thank you, Steve Kaufman, Precinct 5. Through you, Madam Moderator, to the town manager. I would like to ask about the flood zone status of the high school. I understand that we updated the flood zones recently, and that the school is going to be built in the flood zone, and that certain mitigation measures have been taken with respect to the school building as well as the power system. Can you speak to that, please? Thank you.
Mr. Bartha.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Bartha. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I don't want that job. Will you please recognize Erin Prestilio from the SMMA?
With pleasure. Sorry about that.
Madam Moderator, my name is Erin Prestilio. I am a civil engineer with SMMA. We are the architects and engineers on the new high school project.
So these particular microphones are very directional, so just keep pretty close to it.
Sure. Okay. So the question was wondering about the status of the recent floodplain updates that happened in July of this year. So anticipation of those floodplain updates, we have studied the watershed and have applied to FEMA to revise the flood mapping to show what is actually studied. When FEMA does their revised mapping, it's at a high level, and they allow for a process through the letter of map revision to really study the watershed, understand how water flows through rivers and streams, and then update flood mapping accordingly.
Mr. Kaufman.
Madam Moderator, through you, I happen to know a little bit about flood mapping, not a lot, but...
Closer to the microphone, please.
My understanding of flood mapping, when you apply for an appeal, is that typically you're going to say that the building is going to be raised above the flood zone, or there's some consideration as to how the design will mitigate the fact that it's in a flood zone, because the flood zone was just updated like in July, so I highly doubt it's super inaccurate. So I'm trying to understand what mitigation is taking place with respect to the building design and the power system design as a result of that. Are you simply going to try to convince FEMA that they're wrong, their map is wrong?
Thank you. Go ahead.
So, Madam Moderator, what we've shown in our study is while the updated FEMA mapping that was issued in July shows extensive floodplain without an elevation, we have studied and have shown that there's actually minimal areas of flooding. We have flood elevations associated with those areas, and so we are able to locate the building and the necessary infrastructure away from those, and actually through the permitting process with the Conservation Commission, we'll be moving those small areas away from the building and that necessary infrastructure.
Mr. Kaufman.
Madam Moderator, through you, in terms of the power system, which is very vulnerable to flooding, especially the ground source heat pump, which is under the ground in a flood zone, what mitigation is taking place for that? And were you not to get approval from FEMA for this modification, what implication would it have on the building design and the cost of the building?
You may go ahead.
Unfortunately, Madam Moderator, we should have heard back from FEMA by now, but given the government shutdown, we are in somewhat of a holding pattern. We do have time to resolve this issue before a building permit is issued and we permit this project with the Conservation Commission. We agree that the floodplain should inform where necessary infrastructure is located to support the building, and that's why we will be moving this limited flood area away from the infrastructure through the permitting process with the Conservation Commission.
Thank you. Mr. Kaufman.
Through you, Madam Moderator, to the Select Board, with respect to the engineering of the power system of this building exceeding the requirements of the building, is any of the excess power going to result in savings to the citizens of the town? Will they see any savings from the excess power production?
Mr. Pato.
Madam Moderator, would you recognize, well, short answer. Yes, we anticipate that there will be a reduction in costs that are incurred by the town for power consumption, and that will lead to savings for the town as a whole.
Mr. Kaufman.
Thank you. In my time left, I would simply put forward that I think this is an extremely well-designed project. There's a lot of thought that went into it. It's super important to the town, and I'm very supportive of that. At the same time, I think the costs are extraordinary. First, it's the most expensive high school in the history of the United States. Second, it's going to cost Lexington $250 million more than any town in Massachusetts has ever paid. That said, I think we should leave it to the voters to decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Berger in the yes line.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Todd Berger, Precinct 9. My wife and I are 35-year residents. We had raised 4 daughters in this town who went through the public schools. All graduated college, happy to say. I'd like to offer tonight answers to 4 specific questions, briefly, on each of them. First, is Bloom a good plan? The Bloom design for a new high school is big enough, will provide a healthy learning environment, is environmentally responsible, and will have comparably lower operating costs per square foot. It also uses durable materials, which I saw during the tour of the Waltham High School this weekend, and uses the latest technology. To me, that's a good plan. Second question is a little harder. Are we getting good value for our money? Spending money, especially in today's economic climate, is an anxiety-producing process, no matter what the number is. But our town leaders are proposing to spend this money to build something that we badly need, that we've needed for 20 years. Their proposal wastes precious little time, money, or educational potential of our current or future students, while improving the quality of student life and adding value to every single home by increasing the town's attractiveness to future homeowners. To me, that's good value. Third, do the benefits merit this expenditure? The Bloom design is a compact design, not the sprawling, disconnected, hard-to-maintain current set of buildings that comprise our high school today. We will get more open space as a result of that design to the benefit of students who no longer have to traipse through slush and snow between classes in wintertime, and who can, along with the rest of our town citizens, enjoy the increased open space for the rest of the year. To me, that merits this expenditure. Finally, and importantly, do we really need to build something this nice? What some don't appreciate about projects like this is that the bulk of the costs go into site preparation, foundations, utility costs, basic building materials, basic surfaces, getting a roof over the building. The niceties typically make up less than 10% of the total cost, if that.
this is something that this building is is something that the town is going to serve. It's going to serve students and faculty and families, not for 5 years or 10 years or 30 years, but likely for 50 or 60 years. And after careful review, I've concluded, and by careful review, I have read every no and yes comment on the town TMMA sites, as well as emails and messages to me. And after careful review, I've concluded the plan is just the right amount of nice. I'd like to say one thing.
2 seconds.
Just want to say, let's get this approved tonight. Let our town employees do all they can to hold down the total finished cost and build something now we'll all appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Mr. Safarian in the no line.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Alan Safarian, 10 Augustus Road, Precinct 8. I believe the prudent thing for us to do tonight is voting to cease expending taxpayer funds on a project that will eventually be found to be environmentally flawed. On October 17th, just a few weeks ago, the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs published an important document for the LHS project we refer to as Bloom. Though perhaps not immediately apparent to those who only skim this lengthy and dense document, I and others believe this so-called certificate dealt a mortal wound to any project that involves building on the fields. The project is located within a 100-year floodplain, potentially requiring compliance with Massachusetts State Building Code flood-resistant construction standards. This will significantly increase costs, as Steve Kaufman pointed out earlier. More importantly, the project will result in the elimination of wetland W7. This will violate state wetlands protections law. This will in turn oblige the Lexington Conservation Commission to oppose the project, as their charter requires them to uphold state wetlands protection statutes. As the Conservation Commission must unanimously support the town's Article 97 application, this alone effectively kills the project. The Select Board must also vote unanimously to approve Article 97. We've already heard tonight the voice of one brave Select Board member telling us why Bloom is a bad choice for Lexington. All this will take months to play out. In the meantime, significant additional taxpayer funds will be expended. Better we stop the bleeding now by voting no on Article 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Katz in the public balcony. Mr. Katz.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Moderator and Town Meeting, for letting me speak. My name is Jamie Katz. I live on Barbary Road. With my wife, Cynthia Pilch. Cynthia and I are both former town meeting members. Many of you probably knew my father, Arthur Katz, for many years. He was an active town meeting member for over 20 years. My family moved to Barbary Road in 1952. I then attended 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and proudly graduated from LHS in 1970. I note that all of the schools I attended, except for the high school, have long been put out of service of the public school system, perhaps because of my misdeeds in them, but perhaps for other reasons. But I'm an old guy, so it's a reasonable question to ask, why would I support a school that we'll never use? Simple. I believe that this high school, this coming high school, will help not only the students, but it's going to help the community. I don't work in the high school. I don't work in the school system. I'm not an administrator or a teacher, but I've been in and out of that school for years, attending large meetings, small meetings. I had a daughter and 4 nieces and a nephew go through the schools. In addition, I helped run for some years a small nonprofit that provides free mental health services for teens. And my family has put our money where my mouth is tonight. We have supported for 20 years a college scholarship for an LHS graduate. I've spent a lot of time walking through the corridors of the very crowded corridors of the high school. I've seen the packed lunchrooms, and I've walked between buildings in the dead of winter. The high school gets its top academic rankings from the people in the institution, not from the buildings. The buildings are a hindrance, not a help. This town takes great pride in our history and our culture, but that history and culture are more than what happened in April 1775. Our public school system began in 1853. Since then, generations of parents have invested and sacrificed to improve the conditions of the schools and to hire good people to provide education for the kids. My father would love to have been here to tell you that he supported, and my mother supported together, the renovations and ultimate construction.
10 seconds.
So all I will tell you is this. Your vote tonight has to honor the past, but also protect the future. The Bloom design does that. Nothing we have heard elsewhere will accomplish that.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Jay Luker with a question.
Thanks, Madam Moderator. Jay Luker, 26 Orange Avenue. I have a question about the tax impact calculator. Is there a way we could get that up on screen and have someone explain some things to me?
Just give us a moment.
I thought this would be easy. I'm sorry. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Through you, Madam Moderator, to whoever's managing the screen there, bear with me. Can you enter $440 million? I found an Easter egg. I'm just kidding. No, really. Okay, so $440 million is the sum total of the estimated new assessments for the properties that were studied by the Fougere Group for their multifamily housing impact study. And I'm hoping that someone from the town or someone who has developed this calculator can explain to me what I'm looking at here and what does this mean. If you add up all those numbers through the 33 years, it comes up to about $15 million. So my assumption is that those properties will be paying $15 million worth of the debt for the high school. Is that correct?
Ms. Kosnoff.
Through you, Madam Moderator. So I would say that yes. Obviously, it depends on when they come online compared to when the project costs are incurred and when the debt is incurred, but essentially, yes. If those are residential developments, they will be taxed as residential properties, and so you could see that their fiscal 25 tax bill at that value would have been $5 million, $5.5 million, and that is the amount that would be attributable to those properties.
Right.
Mr.
Thank
Luker.
you. Through you, Madam Moderator. And so, for instance, I mean, we're entering this as one number, but these are individual properties. And so I would imagine that the CPA exemption would apply to each one individually, so it wouldn't be...
Ms. Koznoff.
So I'm not sure what you're referring to in terms of CPA exemption.
The first $100,000 of a property's value is exempt from the CPA surcharge?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Moderator.
Ms. Koznoff.
That is correct, the first $100,000 of each property, so that would apply to each.
Okay, through you, Madam
Mr.
Moderator.
Luker.
Through you, Madam Moderator. So, and then I wanted to point out in the Appropriation Committee's report on that housing, they said that the Fougere report, or actually their report on the report, the 117, or the 1,000...
You have 20 seconds, Mr. Luker.
Thank you. I think that's all I wanted to say. All right. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't trying to stop you. I just wanted to
It's like I have
give
more
you
than
some advance
20
warning.
seconds.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. I should say, I'm a yes on this. I'm
Okay.
gonna vote yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Luker. Mr. Shapiro in the yes line.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Peter Shapiro, Precinct 4. So, Madam Moderator, these points have been made before, but they bear repeating. If we don't rebuild LHS, we'll have to pay on the order of $300 million for long-deferred maintenance, basically just to keep the lights on. Even after we spend that huge amount, the existing LHS buildings will still be way too small for our high school enrollment, with overcrowded classrooms, bottlenecked hallways, an overflowing cafeteria, undersized gym, and other spaces ill-suited for today's educational needs. Also, that very costly maintenance would not resolve the security vulnerabilities of LHS's open campus. Some have advocated that we renovate and add to LHS in multiple stages, but that approach was rejected for good reasons. It would cost more and take longer, and it would be incredibly disruptive, insecure, and unsafe for our kids and others on LHS premises during years of on-site demolitions and construction. In any case, that phased rebuild option is not what's on the table now. What is on the table now is the Bloom option that will give us an entirely new school at lower cost, faster, and with much less disruption. Bloom's cost is comparable to that of other high school projects in our area. Its peak impact on our property taxes will not be reached until 10 years from now, in fiscal year 2036, when it will represent less than an 8% increase. Doing nothing is not an option. Postponing the project would only increase its cost to Lexington taxpayers. Bloom will provide us with a wonderful new school that will serve us well for many decades. It will be a tremendous asset for our town and for our kids. We need this project. It's the right choice. Let's make it happen by voting yes on Article 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Letitia Holm in the no line.
Letitia Holm, Precinct 7. Madam Moderator, through you.
Ms. Holm.
My parents got out of Lexington as soon as possible. We wish we could have stayed in Lexington, but taxes were too high. This bitterness is what we hear from many families once known as neighbors. Revolving door Lexington is in full swing. Constituents have expressed concerns about seniors and the middle class, including teachers, being pushed out. Many losing jobs due to federal research cuts and AI job replacement will also be forced out. Lexington is heading over a financial cliff that is unrecoverable. Our existing debt, MBTA Act infrastructure costs, debt from this high-maintenance project, plus cost overruns from building on the wetlands, plus many upcoming operating overrides. Superintendent Hackett has already mentioned a permanent operating override. Fancy, expensive walls aren't going to make an educational nirvana. No one in their right mind will come here for more than a short-term rental. Discretionary income will go to taxes. Forget about reviving the center. For those considered with ROI, as per economist Case and Schiller, repeat home sales are a very bad sign. This project is too expensive. It also proposes carving up a very sensitive watershed management system which prevents flooding in the neighborhood. During the process, community members who expressed concerns did not get substantive answers or were ignored. With the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs requiring additional environmental impact studies before certification is issued, why are we approving any further funds for a project that does not yet have the land on which to build? We should instead pursue, this time with a budget, building on the existing campus as in the 2015 master plan. We need the least possible cost to modernize. We need to save as much money as possible to spend on teachers. I went to LHS and benefited from our campus with separate buildings. Transition to college was easy for me and my peers, not only because of the teachers and curriculum, but also the environment our campus provided. I remember smiling when I saw the doors and halls in our main building are just like those in the MIT Infinite Corridor. Lexington is a historic town. Harvard has old buildings. Paris 2024 Olympics used existing venues, and LA 2028 has pledged to forego building any new permanent venues. Let's join the international community and embrace reuse of buildings. Lexington claims to care about equity, diversity, and the environment. For actual inclusivity and for environmental, historical, financial, common sense, and moral reasons, please vote no on Article 8. You can't say you didn't know. Thank you.
Thank you. And in the public line, I believe we have a statement from Sophia Ho.
Hi, Madam Moderator. On behalf of Sophia Ho, I'm Taylor Galusha, the Communications Director. Sophia submitted, I am 90 years old. We moved to Lexington in 1966 when our first child graduated from the nursery school. We chose Lexington for the same reason as many others, the good schools. At that time, Lexington Public Schools started in first grade, no free kindergarten. A year after we moved to Lexington, the policy changed and our second child entered kindergarten at the new Estabrook School. That meant they had to provide 2 more classrooms for the incoming kindergartners. Fast forward, both of our children graduated from Lexington High School and successfully became freshmen in college in Cambridge, Massachusetts. In the meantime, I became an ESL teacher at Estabrook. Once I had to ask the principal, Bill Terrace, where I could teach my students. He said in frustration, I don't know. We found a table in the storage room for me to teach the large number of foreign students who came to Lexington with their parents because of our good schools. The new Estabrook in the 1960s could hardly cope with the increasingly larger student body 30 years later. More than 10 years ago, Lexington built a new Estabrook school with all the modern equipment and even a dining area for the students. They used to eat in the hallway. In the meantime, Lexington needed a junior high school, Clark. I remember the same thing happened. Yes, we needed to replace Muzzy Junior High, but do we have to build such a fancy, thus expensive school? History repeats itself. Lexington High School was already here when we moved here almost 60 years ago. Should we build a high school that would offer the best education to our students for long into the future, or should we squander this moment when we have a solid plan and state funding and start all over later when the cost will surely be higher? Things change. It is time to build a new high school. Lexington, let's rise to the occasion once more.
Thank you. Ms. Singh with a question.
Good evening, Madam Moderator. Taylor Singh, Precinct 6. Question through you to the SBC. How does the current overcrowding and undersized LHS impact students getting to class on time?
Ms. Lenahan.
Madam Moderator, will you recognize a member of our Student School Building Committee to answer that? And would you recognize Keshav Krishna?
Thank you, with pleasure.
Madam Moderator, could you ask Ms. Singh to repeat her question?
Yes. Ms. Singh, could you repeat your question?
How does the current overcrowding and undersized LHS impact students getting to class on time?
So the current Lexington High School campus is 4 buildings, and it stretches a really large plot of land. That means that in some parts of the school, there are many really far away parts from the middle of the school, and some students may have classes that that happen, for example, at the end of the math building or at the end of the main building, and they have to get from that class to the next. So they have to go through a long way, and they have to go outside, they have to go through the main hallway, which is really, really crowded, and that can take students a lot of time. For students to get through the main building alone from start to finish would take maybe 3 minutes alone or even more depending on the traffic. And that really impacts students to getting class on time, and it could take away from their learning.
Ms. Singh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you to the SBC, what are the learning conditions like on hot days in September and June?
So September and June are the hottest months of the school year, and there are some classrooms in the school where it can be really hot to learn, and it can disrupt from students' learning experiences, and it can get them all distracted.
Ms. Singh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you to the SBC, we've heard that the heating system is noisy. How does that impact classroom activities?
Madam Moderator, would you please recognize another member of our Student School Building Committee, Luke Young?
With pleasure. Go ahead.
Madam Moderator, the air conditioning and heating systems in our school are incredibly loud. When taking a course such as a world language course or an English course, it's often difficult to hear fellow teachers and staff. This means that while reading books, it can be difficult to understand the content and to understand what we're supposed to be learning. This means that rather than actually learning the content, we're sitting in a classroom that's overheated and we're trying not to fall asleep. This, of course, inhibits student learning. In a world language class, you're supposed to speak and understand and listen. Part of the class is learning through listening. But you cannot learn through listening if you cannot hear the teacher. This is incredibly a big problem and prevents students from being able to learn effectively. This is also reflected in the problems in math and science buildings. In a science building, if you're in a lab and you cannot hear teacher instructions during a lab, it could prove dangerous. If you're doing a lab that's involving boiling water or other dangerous substances, then that could be catastrophe. In conclusion, the heating systems and cooling systems can create a world in which student learning and safety is inhibited, and a new high school could fix this.
Ms. Singh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you, question to Select Board Member Doug Lucente. You stated that the SBC did not listen to residents. They held 15 community forums. How many were you able to attend?
Mr. Lucente.
I watched several of them. I did not attend many of them because we have a Select Board member who's on the committee.
Ms. Singh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you, question to Select Board Member Doug Lucente. Are you familiar with the MSBA's failed vote policy?
Mr. Lucente.
Yes.
Ms. Singh.
Madam Moderator, through you to Select Board Member Mr. Lucente. Why are you comfortable sacrificing $120 million in state funds, knowing going back to the drawing board will only cost taxpayers more, plus no support from the state?
Mr. Lucente.
Madam Moderator, I think I gave my statement. This isn't really a trial, so I gave my opinion, and that's the opinion. So,
excuse me. I'm sorry. We don't allow outbursts. Thank you. Ms. Singh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have a few more questions for the SBC. Part of the way overcrowding is mitigated at lunch is that juniors and seniors have open campus and many go to the center for lunch. What happens on rainy, snowy, very cold days when fewer students leave LHS?
Ms. Lanahan.
Thank you. Madam Moderator, would you recognize Student School Building Committee Member Avia Liao?
Yes.
So Madam Moderator, The issue with the overcrowding at LHS also extends to the cafeteria. This is slightly mitigated when it's warmer outside, the weather is nicer, and students can go outside to eat, but when it gets cold or rainy, they all have to crowd into 2 very small cafeterias that can't fit the amount of students that have lunch at a given time period. Students often have to find other places to sit, such as on the floor in the hallways, or just crowd together very closely in a very tight area in the tables. And not only is this very uncomfortable, very stuffy, very hot for the students, it could also contribute to the spread of disease with such close quarters and everyone just huddled together very tightly in flu season when it does get cold outside.
Ms. Singh.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Moderator. Of course, I'm an emphatic yes. Lexington absolutely needs to move this forward. We risk losing $121+ million from state reimbursement. We would have to go it alone. As we heard from our students in the SBC tonight, the current LHS isn't sustainable for learning. Something needs to be done. Voting no does not mean not spending money on fixing LHS. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Rhodes in the yes line.
Madam Moderator, Lisa Rhodes, Precinct 9. It is not often that you see me at this microphone during town meeting. Usually, that's because others have already asked the questions or made the comments I was considering. I am always mindful of everyone's time and try not to be repetitive. Tonight, though, I feel compelled to make an exception. I have the privilege of standing here, or sitting here, because many residents of Precinct 9 have placed their trust in me to represent their interests thoughtfully and responsibly. That trust matters deeply to me, and it's precisely because of that trust that I cannot understand why anyone would deny them or any residents of our town the opportunity to make their voices heard through a vote on the debt exclusion in December. I believe in giving our community the right to decide this important question for themselves, and for that reason, I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. In the no line, Vida Baturina Hom, and I apologize for messing up your name.
Vida Baturina Hom, Precinct 7. Madam Moderator, through you, I'd like to address this body. All that glitters is not gold. We've heard that before. We're being asked to approve a massive building project that rises out of a bog. The building plan is flawed. There will be cost overruns. Operation and repair of new features with unproven usable age may be enormous. The delivery of quality education is not dependent on a sparkling new building. The proposed structure isolates students from their community as they would be literally shut off from the outside. Let us not fall into the Oedipus trap of keeping bad decisions of massive spending that requires significant tax increases and multiple overrides. We do not have to follow the drumbeats of Pied Pipers that will bring the town to financial ruin. New infrastructures cost for the much bigger population from the MBTA Act are also expected. I'd also want to speak for Lexington residents who cannot attend meetings due to reduced ability to drive at night, difficulty navigating the internet, or to infirmity. But they diligently pay taxes to the town. These stakeholders need to be heard. Many are now in their 80s and older. Their taxes have been contributing to the education of Lexington children long after they were out of the schools. But schools' expenses are still about 80%, or I don't know exactly the percentage, of their taxes. The cost of basic needs, such as
utilities, transportation, healthcare, and food are rising significantly. In this economic climate, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security are at risk. This money sink project will add strain to finances. They fear that what they have saved will not be enough. They cannot go back to work to keep up with higher taxes. Senior families contributed greatly to the Lexington's vaunted national and international reputation of educational excellence. Their children achieved in math and science competitions, music and art citations, national debates, and more. Admissions to selective colleges such as the Ivies, MIT, Stanford were significant. At least 17 from one graduating class got acceptances to MIT. Their accomplishments were achieved without many.
I apologize, your time is up. Can you just give one summation sentence?
Okay. These seniors live simple lives, but they cannot retire from taxes for Lexington Public Schools. Please do not forget them. Please vote no on question 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hom. Olga Gutog and the public line. Ms. Gutog.
Madam Moderator, thank you for letting me address the Assembly. You have heard many of my objections over the past year and a half, and I do not need to be convinced that we have to improve the high school facility. That should have been done 20 years ago, but we are where we are. However, we also owe Jim Williams a debt of gratitude for all the work he has done on environmental issues related to the LHS project. His concern over wetlands protection was clearly taken seriously, since the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs is asking SMMA to explain how they will address problems he has identified. This shouldn't have been news to the SBC, since Jim Williams has shared with them the same information as early as 2023. But I guess they assumed they had a political solution for damaging the extremely environmentally sensitive wetlands area. There is also the issue of Bloom being built in a flood zone. FEMA has recently expanded flood zone maps across the nation. This expanded the flood zone in the fields so that Bloom is now fully sitting in the new flood zone. Some of the campus that is in current use is, by the way, not in that same flood zone. Under Lexington bylaws and state's regulations, building in a flood zone is highly regulated and will likely require far more expensive construction techniques. The figures for such construction techniques have not yet been produced. Of course, not building in the fields would avoid most of these environmental issues. There are far too many substantive questions that need to be answered before this project should be voted on. I urge you all to defer voting on Articles 8 and 9 until the environmental issues are satisfactorily resolved. Please ask to indefinitely postpone Article 8 and 9, or better yet, in my opinion, vote against them. We can do a better high school for less and not lose the MSBA subsidy because Dr. Hackett and others on the SBC are extremely capable negotiators. Thank you for considering my concerns over the future fiscal and social health of our community, and I hope that you are listening carefully to the people who have not been heard through the process by the SBC. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Avalone with a question.
Bob Avalone, Precinct 8. I've heard from members of the public about this project in the last months. The most common question I get is, why is this high school costing so much more than comparable high schools that have been built in recent years? I have done my own research on this, but I would like to give the advocates a chance. I know it's a big question, to briefly respond to this question.
Mr. Cronin.
Madam Moderator, please recognize Mike Burton from Doran Whittier, please.
With pleasure.
Madam Moderator, Mike Burton with Doran Whittier with the Owner's Project Manager. So we have done several studies on multiple schools, and those are available on the website. I think the most recent one compares Lexington, North Attleboro, Revere, and Waltham. And when we looked at all those costs and leveraged out or averaged out the time when the projects were built and the scope that's included in those projects, we averaged them out, and Lexington is actually below the average of those 4 schools.
Mr. Avalone.
Okay, thank you. My other question is regarding the getting from one class to another. We heard a question earlier about how difficult it is for the students to get from one class to another in the current environment. How will this improve with the new school?
Ms. Lenahan.
Madam Moderator, would you recognize Principal Andrew Baker?
Yes.
Madam Moderator, a pretty quick answer to that is that at the current Lexington High School, we're a 2-story structure over 4 buildings. Every single student has to go down to the first floor and traverse through pretty much the same exact space to get where they're going. There's choke points in the school around thresholds, which are very narrow, and it means that the mass of students trying to get through the same places are large. Our 4-story building, which is proposed by the designers, the preferred design choice, has 3 wings to it that have stairs up and down, and it also allows us to build classroom communities where you don't need to go as far to get to your next class. The chemistry classrooms are close to the American literature classrooms, which juniors take, right? And so there are ways that you don't have to travel as far to get where you're going, because we've designed the school to have communities within the school and not 4 separate buildings with disciplines in them.
Mr. Avalone.
I understand. So what would be the maximum time that students will be allowed to get from one class to another? What would be the amount of time you would allow them to?
They've estimated 3 minutes in the new building. We give students 5 minutes of passing time currently with a little grace.
Mr. Avalone.
Thank you. Those are my questions. I am very much in favor of the project. I've studied both sides of it, and I will not repeat the arguments. There's been enough said by the advocates and the opponents.
Thank you. Ms. Daggett in the yes line.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Sarah Daggett, Precinct 2. I rise this evening in support of Article 8 and implore my fellow town meeting members to join me in voting yes for this important article. First, I would like to thank the School Building Committee, the school committee, teachers, parents, and others who have worked so hard to bring us to an amazing new plan for LHS. I would also like to thank our constituents in Precinct 2, so many of whom have reached out to me and others via email, mail, and in a couple of really interesting instances, conversations while in the fresh donut line at Wilson's. I also would like to thank all of the high school students who were somewhat captive audiences for me on recent car trips, who were willing to answer questions about their experiences in the current LHS. Overwhelmingly, feedback from voters in our precinct, Precinct 2, has been that they are a yes on the Bloom design for the new Lexington High School. Parents have expressed frustration about the state of the current building and the facilities, and excitement about the expanded possibilities and improved student experience that the new campus will provide. Feedback from teenagers currently attending LHS, while a little more colorful, has highlighted many areas of concern, some of which we've heard this evening, which include but are not limited to tight hallways that make exiting the building and moving between classes difficult and unsafe. I think some of their exact words included gross, packed, and smushed. Inadequate and outdated lab, performance, and classroom spaces. Small and aging cafeteria and social gathering spaces for students. Outdated buildings, issues with the physical structures such as leaks and cracks and smells apparently, and a lack of accessibility which inhibits inclusiveness in our student body. While no plan is ever perfect, the Bloom design provides sorely and urgently needed additional, updated, and inclusive spaces for our high school students, and thanks to the MSBA process, saves Lexington over $100 million. I realize the price tag for this building is steep, but it's hard to put a price on education for our students. Lexington prides itself on being one of the top school districts and the top state for school districts in the United States. Our current high school does not live up to those high standards. A yes vote tonight moves us forward as we attempt to rectify this issue, remembering always that a no vote is not a vote in favor of a different plan. It is a vote against the only plan that we are currently considering. Please join me tonight in voting yes on Article 8 and Article 9 to support this desperately needed new development and provide a better future for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Dawn McKenna in the no line.
Those are a lot easier.
Ms. McKenna.
Thank you. Dawn McKenna, 9 Hancock Street, Precinct 6 Town Meeting member. As a lifelong school supporter and product of the Lexington Public Schools, it is with a mix of sadness, resolve, and optimism that I rise to oppose this article. Despite multiple years of planning, I am sad that this project barely houses our current student population and does not account for the growth that will come with thousands of new MBTA zoning housing. This morning, before we even put the shovel in the ground, the Master Planning Committee was exploring a possible future expansion, roughly costing $60 million. While I encourage you to join me in voting no, I remain resolved to see a brand new LHS built soon as an outcome of meaningful public engagement. I am optimistic about the better outcome that should and can happen with a no vote. Just today, I was informed by new facts. We have been led to believe, even here tonight, that voting no would move Lexington to the back of the line with little shot at getting state funding for years. However, according to the MSBA website, that is not necessarily the case. We are required within following a failed vote to submit a plan containing the vote results, explaining the school district's understanding of the reasons, the plan to remedy that failed vote, and a suggested timeline. Then MSBA will determine if they can and continue to set aside funds for us. That is not a no. And I think we have the answer that people are loud and clear supportive of a new building. But this is just not right yet. But the bottom line is that for those of us who believe we must do better, we must build a school unique to Lexington, not one that contains the same look and feel as Waltham. The MSBA gives us the opportunity to do so in a reasonable time frame. Everyone sitting in this room has chosen to become a leader. Sometimes it's easy to be a leader. However, I firmly believe this difficult vote requires courage. I urge you to vote no so we can roll up our sleeves and make this project that unites us rather than divides Lexingtonians. Thank you.
Thank you. And Moxie Singh in the public balcony.
Good evening, respected members of Lexington's town meeting. My name is Moxie Singh, and I am a 4th grader at Fisk. In 2030, the new Lexington High School building, as well as the replaced fields, will be complete. That will be my first year in high school. When you vote tonight, please think of me, a 10-year-old kid attending the new LHS. Please think of all my friends that will benefit from this new building and rebuilt fields. Please think of the little kindergartners that will attend shortly after us. Please think of the babies that will go to the new school. Keep in mind the generations of students that will experience learning in the new school for the next 75 years after it is built. When you vote tonight, please also think of my older sister who will never attend the new LHS. Think of the current high schooler students in the cramped hallways and squished classrooms who eat lunch on the floors. Please think of the teenagers that have already had 5 fire alarm evacuations this school year due to the system failures at the old school. Please think of the impact you will have on students by delaying this project and not jumping at this opportunity. I am 10 years old. I cannot vote, but you can. Please Keep Lexington students in your hearts and minds as you cast your vote this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singh. Marcia Baker in the no line.
Madam Moderator, Marcia Baker, Precinct 7. I call the question.
Okay, so folks, Ms. Baker is asking us to vote on whether we're ready to close debate. This will require a 2/3 vote, so we're going to pause and give staff an opportunity to develop that voting screen for us. This is a good time for you to wake up your tablet if it has gone to sleep. There's a button on the top that you can push, and then it asks you to swipe up. Okay, folks. All those in favor of closing debate, vote yes. All those opposed to closing debate who want debate to continue, vote no. You may also abstain. And please, after you select a vote, press the blue cast your vote button. Are you having technical difficulty? Okay, push the button on the top. That will wake up the device. But I can also take your vote by voice. If you get yourself to a microphone, you can tell me your name, precinct number. To the microphone, please. So again, to close debate, that's a yes vote. If you want debate to continue, that's a no vote. And please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. Okay, yes, at the microphone.
Precinct 7, Samita Mandalia, I vote yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if there's anyone who is remote who's having trouble voting and wants to vote by voice, please unmute yourself in Zoom and tell us how you're voting. Give us your name and your precinct number. Is there anyone else in the hall who's having technical difficulty? Mr. Martinetti, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Martinetti in Precinct 3 votes yes.
Albert Zabin, Precinct 1, vote no.
Let's just wait until we record Mr. Martinetti. Mr. Zabin, what's your precinct?
Vote no.
What's your precinct number? We've got it, never mind. Mr. Zabin votes no. Is there anyone else in the hall who needs to vote by voice? Anyone else on Zoom? Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 116 having voted in the affirmative, 43 in the negative, and 16 abstaining. The vote carries, and by more than the necessary 2/3. So we now give 2 minutes to the original maker of the motion for any summation that you want to give. Ms. Lenahan, do you have any final comments?
No, I think all of the presentations speak for themselves. We're ready for a
Okay, thank you very much. So folks, we're going to prepare for our final vote on the motion offered under Article 8. We'll give staff an opportunity to prepare that. Okay, we're now preparing to vote on the motion offered under Article 8. This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, press yes. All those opposed to the motion, press no. And please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. If you don't, try again. Is there anyone in the hall who needs to vote by voice? This is on the motion under Article 8. Is there anyone who's remote who needs to vote by voice? Mr. Martinetti in Precinct 3. Mr. Martinetti, can you unmute yourself and tell us how you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Martinetti in Precinct 3 votes yes.
Madam Moderator?
Yes. Is that Ms. Hoffman?
Yes, Pam Hoffman in Precinct 7. I vote yes.
Pam Hoffman, Precinct 7, votes yes.
Albert Zabin, Precinct 1, votes yes.
Albert Zabin, Precinct 1, votes yes. Anyone else in the hall need to vote by voice? Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 155 having voted in the affirmative, 15 in the negative, and 5 abstaining. The motion carries, and by more than the necessary 2/3. The meeting is now open on Article 9, Home Rule legislation for the new Lexington High School. The motion is the one before you, soon before you. It's dated October 22nd, 2025, and on file with the town clerk. Ms. Hay for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. We now have a video presentation.
Hello, town meeting members. My name is Lorraine Finnegan, and I am the principal in charge for the design team of SMMA, the designer of the new Lexington High School. I'm here to walk you through Article 9, the Home Rule legislation and transfer of custody votes for the new Lexington High School. As Dr. Hackett noted in our introduction to Article 8, we have been proactively addressing environmental and permitting considerations required for this project. This article specifically addresses one of those considerations, a release of protections on the existing fields so that the school can be built on them. This process is undertaken through Article 97 legislative action, as well as local votes to transfer control over land from one entity to another. Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Constitution, approved by the voters in 1972, established a right to a clean environment, including its natural, scenic, historical, and aesthetic qualities for the citizens of the Commonwealth. To authorize the change in use of Article 97 land, the town must secure a 2/3 vote of the Lexington Town Meeting, a 2/3 roll call vote of both houses of the legislature, and a determination and finding from the Secretary of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, EEA, following submission of required documents to their office. As you are all aware, the 57.8-acre site is located just outside town center and encompasses the high school buildings, parking, and the Center Rec complex. This map identifies the limits of land transferred by this article. The area with blue color overlay is existing land whose control will remain unchanged. The area with orange overlay is land currently under the care, custody, management, and control of the Select Board to be transferred to the school committee. Area with the yellow overlay is land currently under the care, custody, management, and control of the school committee to be transferred to the Select Board. Both the orange and the yellow represent 8 acres. We will file the application with the EEA in October. We're asking the TMMA to approve the transfers of control at special town meeting in November. If successful at town meeting, and when we receive the decision from EEA, we will file a bill with the legislature seeking approval to release protections, if any exist, to allow the school to be constructed, and we anticipate that process will be complete by June of 2026. The 3 actions before you for a vote are: 1, that the town must also authorize the transfer of control of certain portions of the existing athletic fields from the Select Board to the School Committee for the site of the new high school building. 2, that the town must authorize the transfer of control of certain portions of the existing high school site from the School Committee to the Select Board for the construction of new athletic fields. And 3, that the town is requesting the Select Board to file Home Rule legislation seeking to authorize the first transfer of control from the Select Board to the School Committee pursuant to Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Constitution. Please note that the transfer from the School Committee to the Select Board does not need to be authorized by state legislature. This third action also confirms the 1961 legislation by which the legislature previously authorized the use of what is now the athletic fields for school purposes. Thank you very much.
For the recommendation of the Select Board, Ms. Hay.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This article requests that town meeting take 3 related actions to allow the construction of a new Lexington High School to move forward. The first action is to transfer custody and control of certain areas of the current high school campus that are used for playing fields from the Select Board to the School Committee for the site of the new Lexington High School building. The second action transfers from the School Committee to the Select Board for care and custody of land currently being used by the high school building for the new athletic fields. This action formally dedicates the lands to playing fields and related recreational uses pursuant to Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Constitution. The last action is related to the first action. The areas of the current playing fields that will be used for the new high school building were acquired by the town in 1914 and 1915 for park and recreation purposes by grants from Augustus B. Scott, a park commissioner and former high school principal in Lexington. In 1961, the state legislature formally permitted the town to use the fields for school building purposes. To confirm that it is still town meeting's desire that these fields be used for school building purposes, as they were authorized in 1961, and to avoid any legal uncertainty over the town's rights to build on the parcels as it embarks on this important project, the Select Board seeks the authority to file legislation pursuant to Article 97, reconfirming the 1961 release of any and all restrictions on the land that will be used for the new school, subject to adequate mitigation being provided in the form of the new playing fields as stated in the second part of the motion. The town has already taken steps to begin the Article 97 process, including making the necessary filings with the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs to begin review of the proposed land swap to ensure that the town is providing adequate recreational facilities for those that would be used for the new building. Overall, the town is achieving no net loss of fields, as all 8 acres of existing fields to be used will be replaced with new fields, most on the same high school campus. The Select Board unanimously supports the passage of Article 9.
Thank you. For the recommendation of the School Committee, Mr. Freeman.
Madam Moderator, the school committee voted 4-0 with 1 recusal in favor of this article.
Thank you. For the recommendation of the Capital Expenditures Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Madam Moderator, the Capital Expenditures Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article.
For the Appropriation Committee, Mr. Parker, Mr. Parker.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee took no position on this.
Okay, thank you. For the recommendation of the Recreation Committee, I'm going to first call on Ms. Hay for a motion to receive and place on file that committee's report. Ms. Hay.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any objection to receiving that report? Seeing none, the motion carries. Is Ms. Sheth in the hall? Would you please share the report of the Recreation Committee? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Claire Sheth for the Recreation Committee. I currently serve as the Vice Chair. The Recreation Committee affirms its strong support for the proposed land swap between the Department of Recreation and Community Programs and Lexington Public Schools, required for the Lexington High School building project. We are grateful to the Select Board for its leadership and for the thoughtful discussion and actions taken at the October 6, 2025 meeting, during which Article 9, Home Rule legislation for the new Lexington High School, was reviewed, discussed, and approved. As outlined in a previous letter from the Recreation Committee to the Select Board dated October 1st, the Recreation Committee had expressed serious concern regarding the preservation of the town's recreation lands in light of recent findings related to the acts of 1961, chapters 110, 111, and 112 deed. Specifically, we requested assurances that the land swap would be honored in full and in accordance with the committed timelines. Replacement lands and facilities would be permanently protected for recreation use, and public trust would be maintained through adherence to the commitments made during the project planning process. At the October 6, 2025 meeting, the Select Board's discussion and subsequent affirmative vote on Article 9 addressed these concerns. Article 9 provides for the transfer from the Select Board to the School Committee of the parcels currently containing the Lexington High School athletic fields held for open space recreation and school purposes under Chapter 114 of the Acts of 1961 for construction of the new Lexington High School building, parking, and related facilities. The reciprocal transfer from the School Committee to the Select Board of the parcels containing the existing Lexington High School building and parking areas to be developed and protected as new recreation and open space lands upon completion of school construction, and authorization for the Select Board to petition the General Court to confirm that the transfer of the athletic field parcels for the school purposes is permissible under the Acts of 1961 and any applicable Article 97 restrictions. This article and accompanying explanations affirm the town's commitment to both educational advancement and long-term protection of recreation resources. The Recreation Committee therefore acknowledges that the Select Board's action on October 6 upholds the intent of the original negotiated land swap agreement. However, the committee wishes to underscore in the strongest possible terms the need for concrete and legally binding action to ensure that the newly created fields on the current high school site are preserved exclusively and in perpetuity for recreation and open space purposes. To that end, the Recreation Committee respectfully, but with the utmost priority and deliberation, requests that the Select Board and Town Manager identify and confirm the appropriate legal mechanism, whether through a recorded conservation restriction, deed restriction, legislative act, or other enforceable instrument by which the permanent protection will be achieved, and initiate this process in advance of the 2026 annual town meeting, with the goal of bringing forward a warrant article that enacts such permanent protection for community consideration and approval. Taking these steps proactively will demonstrate the town's unequivocal commitment to protecting its limited recreation and open space resources, and will ensure that the community's expectations for lasting preservation are met without ambiguity or delay. As we have consistently stated, the Recreation Committee's support for the project rests on the principle of in-kind replacement and preservation of recreational facilities displaced by the new high school. Specifically, the final plan must include a regulation-sized football/multi-use field, a regulation-sized baseball field, a junior varsity softball field, a practice field, a Little League field replacing the C4 field, which is Lexington's only field built to official Little League international specifications, one cricket field, and a relocated skate park to accommodate the permanent replacement of the track and field throwing cage on the current skate park site. The committee continues to underscore the importance of maintaining these facilities, along with future-ready infrastructure for athletic lighting, adequate spectator and support amenities, and universal accessibility across the site. The temporary loss of a JV softball field and Little League baseball field during construction will require coordinated planning among recreation and community programs, LPS athletics, and Lexington Little League to ensure uninterrupted youth and programming and community sports programming. The Recreation Committee recognizes that Article 9 captures both continuity and future protection of recreation lands by providing for the creation of new permanently protected recreation space on the site of the existing Lexington High School once it is vacated. Yet we believe that now is the critical time to translate that commitment into specific enforceable legal action to ensure these lands remain recreation and open space resources for generations to come. In conclusion, the Recreation Committee fully supports Article 9 and the accompanying Lexington High School building project as approved by the Select Board on October 6, 2025. We appreciate the Board's responsiveness to our concerns and its dedication to balancing educational, recreational, and community needs. We now call upon the Select Board and Town Manager to take the next step by identifying, developing, and advancing the legal framework that will guarantee the permanent protection of the new recreation lands, preferably through a warrant article at the 2026 Annual Town Meeting. We look forward to continued collaboration with the Select Board, the School Building Committee, and the design team to ensure that the final plan fulfills Lexington's shared vision of excellence in both education and recreation, grounded in lasting stewardship of our community's recreational assets. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lees with a question.
Madam Moderator, through you or probably Town Council, is there draft language currently for what we would be using for the special act in the legislature?
Mr. Makarios.
Madam Moderator, the end of the motion under Article 9 is the draft language that will be used for the legislation.
Thank you. Mr. Lees. Mr. Lees, do you have any follow-up?
That's it for now.
Thank you. Alan Safarian in the no line.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm going to read you from Article 97 Land Disposition Policy issued by the EOEA, the same document that was department that was referred to earlier. This policy has been in place for 27 years and has been consistently followed. It calls for the unanimous approval of multiple local authorities. I'm going to talk about the Conservation Commission. I referred to them in my comments about Article 8. They are charged specifically with protecting wetlands, according to state law. We have seen that bloom will destroy one of the wetlands. They are thus obliged by their own charge to vote against Article 97, and that will defeat our submission of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gutag in the public line.
Madam Moderator, thank you for letting me address the Assembly again. Again, I would like to point out that this article is premature. You are trying to swap land on which you're expecting an environmental report required by the EEA. Why would you want to take this action until you hear what is in that report? There is no reason that this cannot be processed fairly quickly if the environmental report is favorable. But I think we're again putting the cart in front of the horse. Please indefinitely postpone this article until you get the results of the environmental report, because I expect that you will discover that that land is environmentally sensitive and needs to stay protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Avalone with a question.
Bob Avalone, Precinct 8. I'm always concerned when we send something to the legislature that they will actually pass it. Do we have any assurances is this a routine, or are we likely to get having it be sat upon and not passed or defeated?
Mr. Makarios.
Madam Moderator, I'm hesitant to speak for legislators or the ones in the room, but I will say that town and town staff have worked for several years now and over the past couple of months with legislative staff from Rep. Sokolo's office, Senator Barrett's office, Senator Friedman's office as well, to talk about this process and the need to do this on a quick basis if it's passed, to get that authorization. The first step of that process is the filing that was made to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. They're in the process of their review. You see the draft legislation, and we certainly will do everything in our power to work with the legislature, and that's as much as I can say.
Okay,
Thank you. Mr. Avalone.
Thank you for that. There's two objections I've heard from members of the public. One is that we're not allowed to make this swap because of the deed, and that it was deeded to always be recreation. Now, I did read your letter, which was very good. Maybe you'd want to summarize that as to why we're on firm legal ground to make the switch.
Mr. Makarios.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. A couple of different points, and I'll try to make this as quick as possible. As you saw, there's a lot of issues in the letter. First, with respect to the issue of the legislator's authority to enact the Article 97 legislation we're seeking, the only argument raised as to why that would not be possible is this idea that the initial grant in 1914 and 1915 created what's called a charitable public trust that can't be violated, can't be changed by an Article 97 vote. As we lay down our letter, we believe that the intent of that donation and that grant was not to create a public charitable trust, but to create a public park subject to conditions that could be amended by the legislator. That's what the deed says. And Article 97, which came much later, does that. So that's on that issue. There's also been arguments not addressed directly in the letter because they were a bit separate about wetlands and other issues. The wetlands permitting is something the Conservation Commission has to do in its regulatory capacity. It is not the entity that has care and custody of the land, so it does not need a unanimous vote for those purposes. But the wetlands issues, what was raised by EEA is a request to provide further information. EEA does not review wetlands. They are not the permitting body for that. Your local conservation commission is. Those issues are understood and have been studied. SMMA can weigh in further if there's further questions on the technical details of it, but that is the second issue. And then there's a third set of issues that have been raised both in the letter to us and I think came up again tonight about the ability to comply with elements of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs review policies for how they review requests for Article 97. Their job is essentially a gatekeeping one to review for the legislature before things go to the legislature. Under their current policy, the only thing that came up is this sort of equal value. We have an appraisal that shows that there is more than equal value going back. Under the 1998 or 99 policy, which has been referred to, there is a requirement that EEA still has maintained, although it is working on revising its policy, we don't know if it'll stay in there, that there be a unanimous vote of, there are various bodies mentioned, but it's really the one with custody of the protected Article 97 space. That unanimous vote, there's no particular time of when that happens. It does not need to happen before submittal to EEA. It just needs to happen at some point during the process. And to our knowledge, no case has ever turned on a lack of a unanimous vote. And I think that is again, town meeting will have to speak first anyway before any such vote could be taken to ask the legislation to be forwarded.
Mr. Ablone.
Thank you. My last question is, some of the opponents had made the argument that this is environmentally unsound to be building on wetlands and we're in danger of having problems in the future. I wonder if somebody would like to address that.
I would defer to
Mr. Makarios.
I would defer to SMMA to address the wetlands issues. Madam Moderator.
Madam Moderator, would you recognize Aaron Pristilio from SMMA?
With pleasure.
Madam Moderator, Erin Pristilio, Civil Engineer with SMMA. Can I have the question repeated, please?
Mr. Avalone.
My question is, how will you respond to the arguments that it's environmentally unsound to build on the current fields because of the wetlands and possible future floods?
It is not environmentally unsound to build where the building is proposed. I'd say that the soils in the fields are not suitable for typical foundation construction. That's why we have proposed and costs included to improve those soils so that we can build safely and a building that meets code and addresses all of the safety issues, long-term settlement and whatnot.
Mr. Ablone.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Huckenhaupt with in the yes line, excuse me.
Hi, Meg Muckenhaupt, Precinct 1. I'll try to be quick because it's getting late and I know we want to get to a vote. Article 97, it's not a strange, mysterious, obscure process. This is something the legislature does all the time and has done in past years several times for school projects just like this one in different municipalities in Massachusetts. It is, however, an essential step. I'm not a wetland scientist. I don't know that anyone in this room is. What I do know is that if you vote against this, that's a great way to just stop this project dead. If you vote for it, maybe there'll be some issues in the future. Probably not. But if you vote against this, you're not giving us a chance to find out. I strongly urge my fellow town meeting members to support this motion so we can move forward and get ourselves the new high school that we desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McKenna in the no line.
Dawn McKenna, 9 Hancock Street, Precinct 6 Town Meeting member. I've asked to put on the screen here a little context and want to talk about, if you pass Article 9, you agree to pull apart Fitzgerald Field, which is a community-driven volunteer project which has been part of our proud history for 75 years. Next slide, please. This is a close-up of the plaque. If you've never looked at it or read it, that's there. I think it's important for you to understand who William Fitzgerald, or Bill Fitzgerald as I knew him, was and what he did for this town. In 1950, Bill gathered at his gas station, which was at the corner of Woburn Street and Fletcher, with Police Chief John Rycroft, who himself was born and raised in Lexington, was a prominent local athlete. He was offered professional baseball contracts to play for the St. Louis Cardinals, the Philadelphia Athletics, and the Boston Braves, but chose to become a Lexington police officer instead. Tony Meduno, a Lexington landscaper, and bank president Sam Parker. One day after receiving a charter from the Little League organization in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, the authority to build Lexington's Little League field, they gathered to decide what they were going to do. And for 3 years thereafter, and you can change the slide, thank you. This is Bill Fitzgerald. For 3 years, they built the field using their own free time with their own hands. You can change the next slide. And with volunteers from the Veterans of Foreign Affairs, the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, and other civic-minded individuals. Bill also chaired the town celebrations for many years, committee, especially during the bicentennial, and he also established a scholarship in 1998, which is still given. 46 years later, at age 84, Bill was present for the naming of the Fitzgerald Field as the home of Lexington Little League. On that day, he threw out the first pitch, saying, "Today we are all Little Leaguers." It is not clear to me that we can build on this particular field because it was all gathered separately. But in any case, I do not believe that this field should be built on, and I cannot, in good conscience, vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Thomas in the public balcony.
Adam Thomas, 21 Dane Road, Precinct 4. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. Mr. Bill Fitzgerald sounds like a fantastic person, and I would encourage the committee and the school to recognize him in the new development when that happens, and hopefully name the new playing field after him. He sounds like a very generous guy. I do believe that there's lots of the design of the school and elements of the school that we probably all disagree with, little bits here and there, but I do think there's a fundamental question about whether we want this project to go forward or not, and that really comes down to voting yes on both the votes tonight. We've heard a lot of arguments prior to this vote on the second amendment that argued why the school should go ahead, and I really appreciate the committee's support and everyone in this room's support for the construction of the school. We need to vote yes again on this second ballot measure in order for this to proceed. And so I'd implore everyone in this room to seize the opportunity of this once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation opportunity to advance a fantastic school with significant state funding by voting yes on the Second Amendment this evening and really setting our kids up for success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elizabeth Mattettel with a question.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Liz Mattettel, Precinct 9. I understand that the land swap might actually allow us to make some improvements to the fields and to our athletic facilities, including, I think what I heard was a cricket overlay and a new field, and wondering if either the SBC or someone from the Recreation Department can speak to some of the improvements that we might get through passing this. Thank you.
Ms. Hay.
One moment, Madam Moderator. We're just checking to see if the Recreation Director is still with us.
Okay.
Would you please recognize Melissa Petit, Director of Recreation?
With pleasure, Ms. Petit.
Madam Moderator, through you. So the new fields that will be built on the opposite side of the high school will actually be an improvement to what we have now. We will not lose any fields. They'll be at a better quality, being built from brand new, in addition to the practice field at Worthern Road, which is only used for two purposes, practice football and the most recently the farmers market. That field is not capable of being used for competitive play or practices. So that acreage will actually now be usable in the gain in our assets. Adding to our usable fields, which will help with our deficit.
Ms. Mattettel. Sorry, did I interrupt you,
Nope.
Ms. Petit? Ms. Mattettel, do you have a follow-up?
Thank you very much. That was great.
Wonderful. Scott Burson in the yes line.
Scott Burson, Precinct 9. I move the previous question.
Okay. So we're going to take a vote on closing debate on the motion under Article 9, and this will require a 2/3 majority. All those in favor of closing debate, press yes. All those who want to continue debate, press no. Please press the cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback. Is there anyone in the hall who's having technical difficulty? Would you like to vote by voice?
Yes, Sandra Hackman, Precinct 7, I vote yes.
Thank you. Ms. Wise?
Betsy Weiss, Precinct 2, I vote yes.
Betsy Weiss, Precinct 2, votes yes.
Ironically, just went through.
Mr. Zabin.
Albert Zabin, Precinct 1, votes yes.
Albert Zabin, Precinct 1, votes yes. Just could you get to... Mr. Rotberg, Precinct 3, votes no. Rotberg. Is there any, Mr. Martinetti, who is remote, how do you vote?
Michael Martinetti, Precinct 3, vote yes.
Mr. Martinetti, Precinct 3, votes yes. Anyone else in the hall? Anyone else working remotely? Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 145 having voted in the affirmative, 17 in the negative, and 10 abstaining, the motion carries, and by more than the necessary 2/3. Ms. Hay, do you have any final remarks?
No, thank you, Madam Moderator.
Okay, then we are going to move to a final vote on the motion under Article 9. This will require a 2/3 majority to pass. All those in favor of the motion under Article 9, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback. Who would like to vote by voice in the hall? Mr. Martinetti is remote. How do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Martinetti, Precinct 3, votes yes. Mr. Zabin, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Zabin, Precinct 1, votes yes. Mr. Rotberg, how do you vote? I vote yes, Madam Moderator. What's your precinct again? Precinct 3, Mr. Rotberg votes, you said yes? Yes. Yes. Anyone else? We'll close the vote. In this matter, 155 having voted in the affirmative, 13 in the negative, and 4 abstaining, the motion carries, and by more than the necessary 2/3. The meeting is now open on Article 3, establish, amend, dissolve, and appropriate to and from specified stabilization funds. We'll pause for that motion. The motion is the one before you, dated October 31st, 2025, and on file with the town clerk. Ms. Hay for the motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
And Ms. Hay for the recommendation of the Select Board.
Can you come back to me 1 second?
Of course. For the recommendation of the School Committee, Ms. Jay.
Madam Moderator, would you please recognize Vice Chair Larry Freeman to report out the vote?
With pleasure. Mr. Freeman.
Madam Moderator, the school committee voted 4-0 with 1 recuser in favor of this article.
Thank you. For the recommendation of the for the recommendation of the Appropriation Committee, Mr. Parker.
Madam Moderator, just note that our report used an estimated amount for this appropriation request. We had at $1,164,367. Obviously, that number got updated at the last minute, but the committee remains unanimous in support.
Thank you. For the Capital Expenditures Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The same holds true for our report. The one online and the one I distributed to the TMMA list has the correct number. Our original report had an estimated number. Capital Expenditure Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article.
Thank you. Ms. Fay.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The specified stabilization funds are established by vote of town meeting for specific purposes. Money in stabilization funds may be invested and the interest earned accrues to that particular fund. Funds may be deposited into a stabilization fund by a majority vote of town meeting. Accumulated balances in these funds are appropriated out for their designated purpose by a 2/3 vote of town meeting. Article 3 is requesting one action to appropriate $934,782 into the Capital Stabilization Fund from the tax levy. This funding is primarily available to the town's actual state due to the town's actual state aid and new levy growth coming in higher than projected in the town's FY 2026 budget. Of this amount, $17,858 is specifically related to revenue from commercial developments designated to be set aside into the Capital Stabilization Fund. This amount may also be set aside in future years, while the remaining $916,924 requested in the article will be a one-time appropriation. The Capital Stabilization Fund will allow the town to continue to mitigate the impact of excluded debt service on the town's taxpayers for future capital projects, including the Lexington High School. The Select Board unanimously supports the passage of this article.
Thank you. Seeing no one in line with questions or to speak, we're going to move to a vote. And this is going to require a simple majority. All those in favor of the motion under Article 3, press yes. All those opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback. I didn't, so I'm voting again. There it is. Third time was a charm for me, so don't give up. Who wants to vote by voice? Mr. Martinetti in Precinct 3.
Vote yes.
Mr. Martinetti in Precinct 3 votes yes.
Mr. Zabin votes yes.
Mr. Zabin in Precinct 1 votes yes. Okay, we'll close the vote. This matter, 158 having voted in the affirmative, none in the negative, and 2 abstaining. The motion carries. It is unanimous. The meeting's open on Article 4, amend fiscal year 2026 operating enterprise and CPA budgets. The motion is the one before you, dated October 23rd, 2025, and on file with the town clerk. Mr. Sandin for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
And for the recommendation of the Select Board, Mr. Sandin.
Madam Moderator, this is an annual article that allows adjustments to be made to the current fiscal year appropriations for the General Fund, Enterprise Fund, and CPA operating budgets. Article 4, Part A, would decrease the annual appropriation to Minuteman High School. The revised appropriation reflects the final assessment for fiscal year 2026, which was not finalized until the budget was voted. Article 4, Parts B and C would request decreases to the fiscal year 2026 Water Enterprise and Water Enterprise operating budgets as voted under Article 5 of the 2025 Annual Town Meeting. These adjustments reflect actual debt service payments for both funds for fiscal year 2026 and the actual MWRA wastewater assessment for fiscal year 2025, all of which were finalized after the original budget was voted. The town's water and wastewater rates for fiscal year 2026 were set based on these lower expenses. The Select Board unanimously supports passage of Article 4.
Thank you. Mr. Parker for the Appropriation Committee.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee is unanimous in support of this Article 4.
Yes. Thank you. Seeing no one in line, we're going to move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion under Article 4, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback. Who would like to vote by voice? Anyone want to vote by voice? Okay, I'll close the vote. In this matter, 156 having voted in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 abstaining. The motion carries. It is unanimous. The meeting's open on Article 6, establish, amend, and continue departmental revolving funds. The motion is the one before you, dated October 23rd, 2025, and on file with the town clerk. Mr. Lucente for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
And for the recommendation of the Select Board, Mr. Lucente.
Madam Moderator, this article requests increases to the annual spending limits of 3 separate revolving funds. The increase in the tree fund is requested to fund a one-time expense for an urban forest master plan, which will also be partly supported by grant funding. The increase in the DPW Compost Operations Fund is requested for the purchase and installation of a security system at the Hartwell Avenue compost site. The Tree and Compost Operations revolving funds have adequate fund balances to support these one-time expenses that are directly related to the fund operations. The increase in the Health Program Fund will allow for an expanded vaccine program in the current fiscal year, above what was originally planned. Additional revenue from the expanded program are expected to offset the increase in expenses. The Select Board unanimously supports passage of Article 6.
Thank you. Mr. Parker for the Appropriation Committee.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee unanimously recommends approval of Article 6.
Thank you. Seeing no one in line, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion under Article 6, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. Is there anyone who'd like to vote by voice? Okay, let's close the vote. In this matter, 154 having voted in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 1 abstaining, the motion carries. The meeting is now open on Article 7, Accept General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22I, the HERO Act. The motion is the revised one before you, dated October 22nd, 2025, and on file with the town clerk. Ms. Kumar for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
We have a very short 2 minutes and 23-second video.
Hi, I'm Karen Tyler, the District Director for Veteran Services. I am here today to request consideration of adopting the HERO Act. The HERO Act was enacted in winter 2024, and it expands local options for tax relief to qualified disabled veterans and eligible surviving spouses. The Act introduces new local option under Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22I, which affects veteran real estate tax exemptions. Clause 22I allows an annual COLA to be applied to all veteran exemptions. Adjustment is based on the Social Security Consumer Price Index and is published annually by the Department of Revenue. This will help ensure veteran exemptions keep pace with inflation. This local option is not a state reimbursed benefit, so the costs are absorbed through the town's overlay account. If there are more eligible veterans or surviving spouses, then the cost would reflect that. FY25, Lexington processed 64 veteran exemptions. This totaled $66,800, and the state reimbursed the town $22,200 of the cost. The state, however, would not reimburse the COLA. So, for example, if there was a 2% increase, then the town would be responsible for approximately $1,400. But if the COLA was to increase 4%, then the amount would be approximately $2,700 for FY27. The adoption of Clause 22I is recommended to provide ongoing inflation-adjusted relief for qualified veterans and eligible surviving spouses. It will have a minimal fiscal impact on the town, and it would be in line with the COLA adjustments already in place for elderly exemptions. Thank you for your consideration, and I appreciate your time.
Ms. Kumar for the recommendation of the Select Board.
Madam Moderator, this adjustment preserves the value of these exemptions with minimal fiscal impact to the town and continued support for our veterans. The Select Board unanimously supports the passage of Article 7.
Thank you. Mr. Parker for the Appropriation Committee.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee unanimously recommends approval of Article 7.
Thank you. Seeing no one in line, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of the motion under Article 7, press yes. All opposed, press no. And please press the blue cast your vote button. Is there anyone who'd like to vote by voice? Okay, let's close the vote.
Madam Moderator, my tablet's not reflecting an opportunity to vote, so
I'd like to vote yes.
I'm
Peter
sorry.
Shapiro, Precinct 4.
Mr. Shapiro, Precinct 4, would the clerk make a note of that, please? Thank you. You vote yes. Oh, terrific. It looks like actually we were able to add it in time. In this matter, 150 having voted in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 1 abstaining, the motion carries. Ms. Hay, I'm looking for a motion to dissolve Special Town Meeting 2025-2.
Madam Moderator, with gratitude, I so move.
Does anyone object? Okay. We are dissolved. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your patience.